When I planned a solo vacation, my husband's parents scoffed. They believed a wife shouldn't travel without her husband, and told me to cancel it immediately. My husband agreed, claiming it was all about respect. I smirked and replied, "You're right," which is exactly why I made special arrangements. Their eyes widened when they realized who I had sent on a trip instead, and who was paying for it. Hi Reddit. I didn't expect to be posting something like this, but I've been holding it in for months, and I need to let it out. I'm a 45-year-old woman, and have been married to my husband Matteo for 18 years. We have 2 teenagers, and live in Asheville, North Carolina. I work full-time as a nurse, and he's a remote software developer. For years I've been the backbone of our household, the kind of person who never takes a break, always puts everyone first, and stays on top of everything. It's not that Matteo is a bad guy, he's just too comfortable. Honestly, so are his parents, John and Margaret. They're in their 70s and ultra-traditional. I usually ignore the comments they make, but this time they crossed a line. Last winter I hit a breaking point. Between 12-hour shifts, managing the house, and basically being the emotional sponge for everyone, I was exhausted. I needed time for myself, not with the girls, not a family trip, but alone. I wanted a solo week in Sedona, Arizona. It's a beautiful, peaceful place with just a few hikes, some good books, and no one calling me mom or honey. When I told Matteo I had booked the trip, he looked like I'd told him I was moving out. "You're going alone?" he asked, as if I had joined a biker gang. "Yeah, I want to." He didn't yell, but he became strangely cold and quiet. I figured he'd get over it. He didn't. 3 days later, we had dinner with his parents. I brought up the trip, not thinking it would be a big deal, but oh no, Margaret almost dropped her wine. "A wife traveling alone," she said, like I had announced I was becoming a stripper. "That's not respectful," John added. "What does it say about your marriage, if you're vacationing solo?" I was stunned. I laughed. I looked at Matteo for support, but he didn't say anything at first, just sat there chewing. Then he said, "I get what they're saying. It's not really about the trip, it's about respect." I stared at him and replied, "You're right, that's exactly why I made special arrangements." Margaret looked smug, and Matteo looked satisfied, but they had no idea what I meant. I went home that night, and stared at the wall. Let me be clear, I was angry, not because they disagreed with me, people disagree, but because they made me feel selfish and wrong for needing time for myself. Matteo didn't defend me, he just nodded like I was embarrassing him. I decided that if they thought I was disrespectful for taking time off, maybe I could show them what real respect looked like. Here's what I did. I canceled my Sedona trip, and got a full refund. Then I went online and booked a luxury vacation for his parents instead. Round-trip airfare from Asheville to Napa Valley, a chauffeured pickup, a suite at a vineyard resort, wine tastings, massages, chef dinners, the works. The best part, I paid entirely with our shared vacation savings. The savings that, by the way, I contributed to more than he did. The next day, Matteo came home from work, and I casually told him, I canceled my trip. He looked relieved. "That's probably for the best," he said. I smiled and added, "I booked a trip for your parents instead." He blinked. "You what?" "They leave next Thursday for Napa Valley." I sent the full itinerary to their email. He stared at me like I'd slapped him. "You used our vacation fund." "Sure did. They deserve it, don't they?" He didn't say a word for a long time, just walked into his office. The next day, I went over to his parents' house to give them their tickets, and some travel bags. Margaret was all flustered. "Oh my goodness, this is so generous." John smiled wide. "I've always wanted to visit wine country. I thought it was the respectful thing to do." They didn't get the subtle dig, but that was fine. I wasn't done yet. The second they left for the airport, I rebooked my Sedona trip. This time, even better. Upgraded lodge, better dates, and a longer stay. I was leaving 2 days after they did. I didn't tell Matteo. "They're gone, I'm packing." Matteo keeps pacing around the house. He finally asked last night, "Did you really have to use all the savings?" I looked him in the eye and said, "You were worried about appearances. Now your parents get to travel alone together. That's respectful, right?" He didn't respond. "I'll be on a plane soon. I haven't told him when I'm leaving. I haven't told the kids. I haven't even packed everything yet. But I'm going for real this time, and no one's gonna stop me." 2 nights before my flight to Sedona, Matteo finally brought it up again. We were sitting in silence on the couch. The TV was on, but neither of us was watching. Then out of nowhere he said, "You really booked another trip." After everything, I didn't look at him. "Yes," he asked. "Didn't you think maybe you should run that by me first?" I turned to him. "Did you run it by me when you agreed with your parents? When you said I was being disrespectful for needing space?" He clenched his jaw. "That's not the same thing." "No," I said. "It's worse." He didn't answer. He just got up and walked out of the room. The next morning, he tried a different approach. "You know, the kids have their soccer tournament this weekend. It'd be nice if their mom was there. I've been to every single game for the last 10 years. I said, "They can handle one without me." He blinked like I slapped him again. "Is this about punishing me?" "No," I said. "It's about finally choosing me." That was the moment I saw fear in his eyes. Not anger, not frustration, fear. I think that's when it finally clicked for him. I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't trying to prove a point. I was leaving, not forever, but for real. Then things got messy. Matteo's sister Trina called me. She rarely does, unless it's for some birthday thing. This time she opened the call with, "So Napa Valley." I froze. "What about it?" "Mom's been posting all over Facebook. She thinks you're just spoiling them because you're guilty." I laughed. "Guilty of what?" "Of disrespecting Matteo," she said, "and leaving your family when they need you." That's when I lost it. "Trina, you live in Florida. You haven't visited once in 2 years. Don't tell me about being there for family." She started to backpedal. "I'm just saying." I hung up. I'd had enough of people talking about me like I'm some loose screw. And then the plot thickened. Matteo's parents were in Napa, having the time of their lives. But guess what? Margaret sent me a voice message, clearly tipsy from wine. She was giggling and said, "This trip is amazing, darling. I have to admit, I thought you were being dramatic. But now I get it. We all need to get away sometimes. Even from our husband." I played it back 3 times, and suddenly I started laughing. Not bitter, not angry, just laughing. Because even Margaret, the queen of judgment and tradition, was cracking open. But here's the twist. They don't know I rebooked Sedona. They think I'm just at home, being the beautiful wife. Oh, they're in for a surprise. Last night, I found Matteo in the kitchen, looking through our bank statements. "You booked a room at Whispering Pines?" he asked. "That's right." He shut the laptop. "You really aren't going to talk to me before doing stuff anymore." Seems like that's how you preferred things." He slammed the laptop shut harder this time. "This isn't you," he snapped. "You're right," I said. "This version of me doesn't ask for permission." Now he's sleeping in the guest room. Today, my daughter asked me if everything's okay. I said, "Mom just needs a short break, like when you go to your friend's house for the weekend." She nodded, then whispered, "I think you deserve it." That moment almost made me cry because even my teen sees it. I've always put everyone first. And now, even when I take 7 days for myself, I'm treated like I've started a war. This morning I needed to print my boarding pass. Matteo's office printer wasn't working, so I used his laptop. It was already open. I wasn't snooping, but a tab was still up. An email from someone named Chloe. I didn't recognize the name. The subject line just said, "Still thinking about what you said." My stomach dropped. I clicked on it. The email was short, but the meaning was loud and clear. "Hey Matteo, I've been thinking about what you said. I'm not sure what you're going to decide, but I miss our talks. Hope you're okay." I scrolled down. There were more emails. Chloe worked with him years ago. She moved to Seattle. I remember him saying once that they were just co-workers. That was back when we were still. I didn't go digging. I didn't need to. I knew he didn't cheat, maybe. But he definitely had feelings he never told me about. Emotional cheating, maybe. But it stung like hell. I didn't confront him, not yet. Instead I called the lodge in Sedona, and made one more change. I upgraded to a private casita with full spa access, a fire pit, an outdoor tub, all of it. Then I added a note for them to leave a bottle of champagne with a card that read, "Here's to choosing yourself." It felt like a message to myself. Maybe even a line in the sand. Later that night while folding laundry, my son walked in with his phone. "Dad posted something on Facebook," he said. "Is this about you?" I took the phone. Matteo had written a long post about marriage struggles, and how he didn't know if he was losing his wife, or just watching her turn into someone else. There were vague lines like sometimes you try to be patient with someone going through a phase. People were commenting, hang in, relationships are hard, she'll come around. I was shaking. He made me the villain without saying my name. He was painting me as unstable, selfish, cold, but I said nothing. I just nodded at my son, gave his phone back, and finished folding towels. Margaret called that night. I let it go to voicemail. She left a 3-minute message, rambling, clearly wine drunk again. She said, I didn't realize how tired I was until this trip. I didn't know how much I needed it. I don't know how you've done it for so long. Honestly, I owe you an apology, not just for what I said at dinner, but for years of thinking you were too independent. You're just surviving, and maybe thriving now. I saved the voicemail, not for proof, but for myself, because maybe, just maybe, the woman who judged me the hardest is now the one who sees me clearer. The night before my flight, Matteo tried to play the good husband again. He made dinner, poured wine, even lit candles. It felt fake, like he was reading from a manual on how to keep your wife from leaving. Halfway through the meal he said, we don't have to keep doing that. You go on the trip, get it out of your system, and then we'll talk about everything. Get it out of my system, like I was some teenager going through a phase. I didn't say much, I just ate, and nodded inside. I was done talking. That night, I didn't sleep. I packed, I charged my phone, I looked at Chloe's email, again, and I wrote something I never thought I'd have to write before I left. I left a letter on the kitchen table, not because I was running, but because I wanted everything in writing. No excuses, no rewrites. The letter said, Matteo, you chose silence over support, agreement with your parents over partnership with your wife. You showed me your priority wasn't our marriage, it was appearances. Then I saw your messages with Chloe. You gave her what you never gave me, emotional honesty. Then you turned to Facebook and played the victim, making people think I was the problem. I'm not running away. I'm walking toward myself. Don't wait for me. I won't be back. Not to this house. Not to this version of us. I packed the last of my thing. I didn't even take much. Just what mattered. I left the wedding ring on the table beside the note. I spent 6 days in Sedona, not answering calls and turning off social media. On the 7th day, I turned my phone back on. Messages flooded. Matteo's sister Trina posted, on Facebook, that Matteo and Chloe had reconnected, and were working through difficult times together. The comments were wild. People asking if this was why his wife lost it. Others defending him. A few quietly messaging me, apologizing. One message stood out. It was from Margaret. She wrote, I heard what happened. I had no idea about Chloe. If I were you, I wouldn't come back either. If you need help with the kids or anything, I'm here. You deserved better. I should have said it sooner. Funny, the same woman who once said a wife should never travel alone, now understood exactly why I left. I didn't return to Asheville. I flew to Colorado, where an old friend from nursing school offered me a fresh start and a place to stay. I found a new job, rented a small place, and signed the lease in my own name. The kids stayed with Matteo for now. He begged, but we agreed on a shared arrangement. And guess what? 3 nights ago, my daughter called me and said, I'm proud of you, Mom. Matteo lost more than I did. His job found out about the drama on Facebook. The posts, the public embarrassment. It didn't look good, especially when Chloe, a coworker, turned out to be a former contractor, who once filed a complaint. Nothing ever came of it, but HR didn't like how it looked. He's now on unpaid leave, possibly fired. Chloe, she's gone silent. Trina deleted the Facebook post. No more power couple photos. John is still pretending like none of this ever happened. Margaret messages me weekly, sends pictures of the kids, always ends with I wish I had stood up for you sooner. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's just walking away and watching the people who hurt you destroy themselves without any help from you. I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I just left. And by doing so, I got everything they said I didn't deserve: freedom, peace, and finally respect. I never thought I'd get to this point, but now that I have, it's clear to me how much strength it took to walk away. Everyone thought I was weak for staying in the relationship as long as I did, but the truth is it takes a lot more courage to let go than to hold on to something that is slowly destroying you. I spent so many years trying to fix things, trying to make it work for the sake of my family. But But I realize now that sometimes the best way to heal is to give yourself permission to leave the toxicity behind. I used to worry about what people would think if they found out the truth. Would they blame me? Would they see me as a failure? But now I don't care about their judgment. I know what's best for me. I know what I've been through, and I know what I deserve, and I'm done settling for less than that. I'm building a life for myself now, a life where I am in control, where I don't have to answer to anyone but myself. It's not easy, but every day gets a little bit easier. I'm learning to trust myself again, learning to believe that I can handle whatever comes my way, and most importantly, I'm learning to be kind to myself, to forgive myself for staying in situations that weren't right for me.